right, welcome back and thank you for staying with Business Today. All right, we are talking about the issue in Kenya, and with me is Wendy Gonzalez, who is the CEO for Sama, which is a tech company. Thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be here, Kelvin. Thank you.
All right, so let's start with the history of AI. Looking at AI, first of all, how did it even get into the Kenyan space?
So AI has been around for a lot longer than many people realize. Some of the original natural language processing AI occurred over 20 years ago. So how did it eventually get its way into Kenya? Well, have you ever gone to a website and used a chatbot? So that is an example of AI.
Okay.
It is a customer service agent that has been trained using artificial intelligence to respond to you. Or have you ever used Face ID to unlock your phone or to pay for something? So that's an example of image AI, where it is automatically detecting your face. So a lot of where we see AI is in the way we interact with websites and services, as well as within our applications like our phones or devices. So it's actually been around for quite some time, but what we're seeing now is we're seeing this leap forward in how quickly AI is being built. And now we're seeing more and more applications all across the board in pretty much every single industry. So it started many years ago in systems like banking, where artificial intelligence was used to identify fraud. So matching lots of patterns and then identifying fraud. But now, as an example, some insurance companies are doing automatic insurance damage detection through AI, as an example.
All right, and also, even as you've given the examples, let us look at some of the different areas where AI is being used and the kind of industries that we have, the agriculture, health, and the different sectors that we have. And AI has come in now trying to ease in the work. So just give us the examples and just explain to us how how AI has come in handy in these kinds of examples.
Yeah, I'll give you a few examples I think are really relevant, specifically here in Kenya. So one is related to agriculture and farming. So there are AI that allows for automated crop disease detection. So it's able to view crops, very targetedly identify where there's disease so that farmers can then apply pesticides to that particular area. What that does is it allows the farmers to reduce costs because they don't have to spend all the money on pesticide. And second, you improve crop yield. And that is a huge thing for growing crops. Another couple of examples that are specific to this area is we've worked with companies who are building out wireless networks in rural areas. And so we use artificial intelligence to detect the land and identify where people are living so that cell towers can be placed in an area where there's maximum coverage. But a couple others that you might find particularly interesting. So one is we're working with a company right now that is building a software to help improve football performance. So you analyze the player's game. I don't know if you play football yourself.
I don't play football.
Okay, well, this AI could give you a few tips. But they come with analyzing a player's performance so that you can have a personalized plan to improve your game.
Wow.
So that is another example of AI, and probably my favorite one, if you'll just indulge me, is one related to conservancy. So we worked directly with a company that was trying to prevent elephant poaching. And so one of the biggest challenges in conservation is rangers have so much ground to cover, right? They literally have millions of acres in which they're trying to protect, but it's very difficult if, poachers come at night or come in areas, it's very difficult to detect that. So this company called Vulcan built a drone, right? And this was approved, of course, by the government, to where the drones could fly over large volumes of many millions of acres, and it had a camera attached to it. And our company helped do what we called identification of elephants and poaching behavior. So the teams were identifying elephant tails, elephant bottoms. That's a unique way to identify an elephant. Fires, cars, and what would happen is as soon as elephants and poacher behavior were found in the same vicinity, there was an automatic alert that was sent to the ranger to say, go to these coordinates. So that's a good example of how you can leverage automation to improve something like conservancy and protect elephants and stop the ivory trade.
Okay, very, very well explained and very good examples. Now, let us also look at health. And in terms of trying to ease in the work in health, how has AI come in also in the health sector?
Oh, there are many different applications in the health sector. So it is everything from disease detection. So that's one of the current applications. We have seen a lot of work happening with surgical robots. So now you can guide a robot to help begin to initiate the surgery, of course, with the doctor's oversight. One thing I think that is particularly relevant that we've seen in different parts of sub-Saharan Africa is that some countries have also enabled drones, so self-flying drones, to deliver life-saving blood and drugs to remote areas. So it's really quite clever. Doctors can get on a WhatsApp and say, I need 2 pints of O or B negative. It gets put to a central command center that has blood, supplies, drugs, and then a drone can fly to drop those off in areas that it might have taken 1, 2, or 3 weeks for a doctor or supplies to get there. So it's actually literally saving lives.
All right. And also, let's look at some of the communities in the rural areas within Kenya and how to get this information to them. First of all, you as a player in the field of AI and also technology, how easy is it? Or what are some of the measures that you think can be used in order for this to reach the people in the remote areas? Because you find many of this knowledge and kind of information reaches people in the urban areas who are tech savvy, who are using a lot of these kinds of services. So how do we get to the people in the rural areas?
I think that's a great question. So one is certainly through the distribution or deployment of things like devices and connectivity. At the end of the day, one of the things that is important is that we get connectivity in rural areas so that people can access this information. It's very difficult otherwise. Beyond that, one of the things that's really interesting about AI and the work in AI is that it can be done remotely. So if you have connectivity, we can have people who are not only leveraging AI, but actually helping work and build AI, as long as they have internet access.
All right, and also even as we have these people who are working, even as we have this getting to the people, how do you work with the government? Because at the end of the day, for you to reach to such areas, you need to work with the county government. So the initiatives that you have, are there any that you have with the government where you are incorporating them into this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have been meeting with organizations like the Ministry of the ICT. I think there's a very strong push to not only create digital jobs in Kenya, but also to create hubs of internet centers where all across the nation, including in rural areas, people can get access to the internet to do work. They can get access to the internet to do everything from online shopping. And so we've been talking to the government about how we can support those initiatives, because the work that we do at SOM is primarily focused on providing digital work.
All right, even as we continue embracing the digital platforms, embracing digital transition, are we looking at this as individuals getting to a point where we have almost, like you mentioned in the health sector, where we have robots almost doing everything for us? What are we looking at in terms of embracing this?
So we've got a long way to go before automation covers everything.
Yes.
I would describe it as we're in the very first chapter of a very long book. And
Yes.
so with all these amazing applications of technology, there's still quite a bit of work to do. And we need human input into that process. That's a big part of building AI. So we've just scratched the surface. So as an example, a couple of years ago, we worked on a project around fisheries. So how do we ensure that areas don't get overfished? And that was one application of AI. We can take that so much further that there is really every industry in the world that can benefit from automation.
All right, thank you so much for that. Now let's move on and also look at AI penetration, not only in Kenya, but also within the East African region. And Kenya being the tech hub of East Africa, really, it has to start from Kenya. So in terms of trying to expand to our neighboring countries, what can be done?
That is a great question. So one of the ways that we've been doing it at Sama is we've been doing it through jobs. So we have a large office here in Nairobi. This is kind of the heart of our operating center. We've had thousands of people who've worked for us here, helping build artificial intelligence right here in Kenya, many of the applications I just mentioned to you. And then we actually launched an office in Uganda as well, because we find that there is also strong English language skills, talent. So I think through the opportunities, the global job opportunities, there are many ways in which Kenya can sort of create a business model that shows that there can not only be job creation, but that the region in itself can be a leader in deploying this technology.
And also, even in the universities, are we seeing courses being added there about artificial intelligence? Because I believe it's a space which is really broad. So do we have areas or universities that of, maybe international universities or local universities that have taken this up and said, okay, we are adding this into our curriculum?
Yes, certainly internationally, some of the world-leading universities like Carnegie Mellon in the US and MIT. There are many amazing universities out there. In Uganda, the University of Kampala has done, I think, quite a good job of actually adding a number of data science courses. We are very interested in working with the local universities here in Kenya to also hopefully bring in some of that real-world expertise. So I would say that it's absolutely happening, but I think it can't happen fast enough.
Okay.
This is the most disruptive technology of our lifetime. The number of jobs created, the number of data scientists and engineers we are going to need to build these applications is only going to continue to grow. So I would urge that there is more focus on building those classes, and not only in school STEM and math classes, but then beyond that, more focus from the university system. And that's something that we would love to participate in.
As we look at artificial intelligence, what is the future of artificial intelligence in the Kenyan space, and how is it going to change how we operate going forward, even as we try to embrace all this technology and digital transformation that is happening? What do you think?
Oh gosh. Well, it's hard to have a prediction for 20, 30 years from now. Who knows?
Yes.
Maybe there'll be a bunch of robots around. But,
Yes.
in the meantime, I think that artificial intelligence in Kenya, it's going to create a much less frictionful way of interacting with applications in businesses. It's going to drive a lot of efficiency that will really allow sort of humans to do what they do best. So if you think about it this way, if you're purchasing something, for example, or let me use an example of a restaurant, right? Now we can leverage applications in artificial intelligence to tell us when we cook too much ugali and that's getting thrown away. Well, that's a really good thing, right? Because not only is the restaurateur spending less money on goods, so they're saving money for their business, but they're also wasting less food, which reduces the carbon footprint. So there are so many different applications. I think that what we'll see is that as AI becomes more accessible, as it becomes easier to build, we'll see more and more deployment across Kenya in really every industry. And we're already seeing it deployed even at small and medium-sized businesses, with everything from security systems to retail applications.
All right, even as we conclude the conversation today, what is your parting shot? And from where you sit, the encouragement to young people, because a story earlier before we started the interview, we were talking about youth not getting support, financial support, which is usually, finances is usually some of the major challenge when it comes to this space, startups in tech. What is your parting shot with regards to this?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for asking, Kelvin. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity for Kenya to be a hub of AI and AI development. And what that really means is that there's an opportunity for a significant amount of job creation right here in Kenya. That's really been our focus. We have a purposeful hiring model. We hire on the basis of impact. So we're not expecting people to have digital skills coming into the workplace. But what we do is we provide digital skills training. And because of the the youthful age people are familiar with digital. There's strong English language. There's strong internet bandwidth. This is a perfect ground to build more jobs in AI. And so what I would encourage is that while AI, we talk about automation, it is creating jobs right now. And there's a tremendous opportunity for Kenya to be the leader in this space. And that's something that we're very, very excited about. And the more we can grow in Kenya, I think the happier we'll be.
All right, thank you so much, Wendy, for joining us on Business Today. All right, that is Wendy